Yeah, no, I would say first off, I think electric aviation is already a reality in this region. We have seen in Skellefteå, for example, in Västerbotten, that they have installed a 1 megawatt charger on the air site, and they have the Green Flight Academy, which is a low carbon flight academy that operates electric planes already.
I would agree with what Isak said, and it's really beautiful that it's already a reality in our region, which also strengthens our research in FAIR, which is the project is aimed at being the region being an early implementer of electric aviation. So it's a privilege to have that kind of action already moving in our region. I think it moves forward really fast, and at first in the project early on we mentioned the amount of projects developing in what you said, conventional airplanes, but also the electric vertical takeoff and landings vehicles, which really exploded. And we tried to follow the amount of projects in the beginning, but it became so vast, the amount, so you could actually see that a lot of the projects will actually be successful. And we also see that it will happen quite soon if you listen to the startup companies. So that is something we really are seeing in the project as well.
Yeah, I would say the first passenger electric aircrafts are really within the scope of the coming years. I think there are a company called Aviation developing a 9-seater aircraft that will be entering the market in 2024, I think. And there's a Swedish company called Hardtalk developing a 19-seater aircraft that they say will hit the market in 2026. So it's just a few years from now. And then in addition to that, it's all the electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft that's really also on the horizon just in the coming few years. So it's a lot of things happening in the industry at the moment.
All of them are important, and for the Kvarken region, all of them are different implications. I mean, the region as a whole is quite well equipped with infrastructure in the north-south perspective, but the east-west communications are much weaker. So you also have the natural obstacles, such as the sea between Finland and Sweden, and also the mountain range in the west between Norway and Sweden. So, of course, the increased accessibility is important because of the less developed communications. But also the lower environmental impact is really a good thing, and the sustainable energy production of the region is obviously a good driver and a good incentive for this region to continue to work with this technology. And then you also have the cost perspective of the lower maintenance because of fewer moving parts in the electrical engines, which also is of course a benefit to provide lower operational costs, I would say. Because perhaps something about the capital cost as well.
Yeah, no, that is something that we have been thinking a lot about, the cost structure of operating the aircrafts, and you could say that it's the fixed costs of operating an airline or an air route is of course linked to owning an aircraft, and that is something that I think in a few years time, or if you give it a little bit of a time, I think the costs of owning the aircraft will fall and will become lower, but initially, as with most new technologies, it could be that it's a little bit higher cost than conventional technology. So yeah, there is still some uncertainties, but it could be an important part of the equation.
I could start off there and say that FAIR and the project is actually not really a technical driven project. We see that as something external which the startups are and the industry is handling. We are actually looking very much on why should the Kvarken region be interested in electric aviation and what societal benefits could be generated by being an early implementer. So that's the focus of the project, I would say, and such research is really manageable to do.
I would say something that we have been looking into and trying to understand is what the organizations that are financing the project, what each type of organization need to be doing from now on up until the airplanes are ready and are on the market. And I would say that's a few different things, of course, and looking at the airports, you need to do perhaps some investments in new infrastructure. That is something we looked into, and as you said, it might be hard to say exactly how to, what exact investments to do, since we don't really know the charging standard, for example, or the effect needed in the charging. But what we are doing is what we can. We are doing some modeling to try to figure out if we want to have a regional air route and we need some turnover time at the airport in order to make an efficient route, then what would that mean in terms of power output to make that charging possible? And that could be a start for finding out what to invest in going forward, I would say. I could say that I think that the main part of that is obviously moving people fast in a sustainable way, and that enables a lot more of development. That enables people from Finland and Sweden or Norway to visit each other in short time, and that also enables companies on different sides of the border to get in contact with each other and making businesses, and I think that's really the starting point for development. So I think that's the baseline, just get people moving fast across the border, and then you could really have cross-border integration.
Yeah, of course it could be a future without, but what it does is that it connects people in the region. As I said earlier on, a big challenge is of course long travel times in the region, and that air travel could really shorten those travel times and open up for a new way to cooperate more efficiently and to meet. And in order to start a good cooperation, it's very profitable to meet in a room and build trust in each other to start off your joint business venture, so to speak. I think there will be a lot of things happening. I would say that there will be a continuous work. I think the actors of this region, the airports of this region are really, they are onto this question. They are really working with it, and they are really interested in electric aviation, and I think a lot of them are seeing it as an important way moving forward. So I think there will be investments both in terms of charging infrastructure, but I also think there will be some new ideas for how to move forward with electric aviation in different ways. And I mean, now we have seen the start of the Green Flight Academy in Skellefteå, as you mentioned, but I think the goal for the region in a few years' time would of course be to have a passenger electric aircrafts operating in the region. I think that is somewhat the goal in a few years' time. Next part during the springtime is that we finalize the summary of the report, or the final report of the project, and we also will be presenting our results in Skellefteå at Sara Kulturhus at the 20th to 21st of September. It's going to be a 2-day conference.
Thank you for visiting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.